Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar hosted by RSK. The topic of today's webinar is sustainability strategy and supplier engagement, where we'll be talking you through our sustainability strategy and what we're hoping to achieve in the next couple of years, as well as some of the tools that we have in place, which we'll be using to help us achieve this. Just before we start, there's a few housekeeping notes to just to run through. So just for the duration of the webinar, your microphones will be muted, but there is an opportunity to ask questions via the chat function, which we've got time for, and we'll be answering at the end of the session. And also after this session, there'll be a short survey. If you could take 1 or 2 minutes just to complete that, it really helps us, and the feedback is really useful to help us improve on these sessions in the future. So I'm just going to hand over to my colleague Sara, and Sara is our sustainability program manager, and she's going to take us through the sustainability strategy and some of the objectives that we have coming up. Sara, over to you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm just going to turn my webcam off before I get started so that everybody can see the presentation in full screen. Thanks, Sam. Afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. As Sam mentioned, I'm Sara Vaughey, and I'm responsible for overseeing the strategic direction and delivery of RSK Sustainability Programme. So before Sam introduces some of the tools that we use to support our supplier engagement activities, I'm going to provide some background context with a brief introduction to RSK sustainability strategy and the very important role our suppliers have in our sustainability journey. So since our inception in 1989, oh sorry Sam, previous slide please. Sorry, Sam, you're still, oh, that's it, perfect, thank you. So since our inception in 1989, sustainability has been at the heart of how RSK does business, with promoting the concept of sustainability in all that we do, being one of our core guiding principles. In our client work, we combine innovation, digital tools, and expert delivery to solve complex challenges in the water, energy, infrastructure, and natural and built environment sectors, with a broad range of environmental and engineering services. Over the past few years, we've been actively diversifying RSK to ensure that we can support our clients and societies as they navigate the complex challenges associated with the need for more sustainable development. So as a global and growing business, we know the important role we must play in tackling the environmental, economic and social challenges we face, while also aligning with evolving regulatory and stakeholder demands. But this goes beyond the work we deliver with clients, as I just outlined, to how we operate our own business. So in response to this, in December 2023, we launched Second Nature, an updated sustainability strategy to guide our sustainability commitment and action to 2030. So what you can see on screen now is basically a visual that encompasses our strategy. So our strategy on a slide, if you will. Now, Second Nature reflects RSK's ambition to mainstream sustainability so that it becomes the instinctive way that we operate across our family of businesses, our value chain, which covers our clients and our suppliers, and beyond. So as you'll see from the diagram that's currently shown on screen, Second Nature is built around 5 core themes, and these themes reflect the responsibilities that we have as a business to our widest group of stakeholders. So that starts inside our organisation with our employees, extends to our value chain with our clients and suppliers, across the communities in which we work, and at the wider scale, our commitments to the environment. So that's the outermost ring, if you will, on the leaf, on the diagram on your slide. So The way that we run our business and drive responsibility for sustainability throughout the organisation has a huge bearing on successful outcomes. So that's why finance and governance sits at the heart of Second Nature, and that's the yellow part at the core of the diagram on your screen. Importantly, we've aligned our strategy with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, and that's so we can clearly demonstrate how we as a business are contributing to this globally recognised framework for sustainable development. But of course, this is just a strategy on paper, so we obviously need to deliver on this, and how do we do that? So our ability to deliver on both our annual targets and our 2030 ambitions across the key topics and themes that you see on screen really depends on the effort of our 200 plus group businesses and over 15,000 employees. So that's why we place such great emphasis on engagement across the group. So equipping our 200 plus businesses and over 15,000 employees with the tools they need to drive performance improvements in the areas that matter locally to those teams, while supporting the group level annual targets and 2030 goals. Next slide, please, Sam. Thank you. So in addition to engaging with our internal businesses and employees, we place great importance on engaging with our supply chain to support the successful delivery of our sustainability goals. And as you would have seen on the previous slide, our suppliers are a key topic within the strategy. So from responsible sourcing of materials to lowering carbon emissions and upholding human rights, there's a broad range of topics that we do engage with our suppliers on. And we have over 17,000 suppliers globally, and therefore we recognise the huge potential to improve not just our own, but our collective sustainability performance by working together to share knowledge and best practices. And we engage with suppliers in a number of ways to communicate our ambitions and expectations on sustainability, but also to understand opportunities for collaboration and support capacity building. Ultimately, we seek to partner with suppliers that uphold our values on ethical conduct, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility. Before I pass over to Sam to explore some of the key tools that we use to support this engagement with our supply chain, I wanted to introduce one key focus for our supplier engagement efforts over the next couple of years. And this is tied to our 2030 carbon emission reduction targets. Thanks, Sam. So RSK has a public commitment to reach net zero emissions by 2040. So to keep us on track to reach this longer term commitment, we've set a series of near-term targets to meet by 2030. And those near-term targets are listed on the right-hand side of the slide. And in November 2024, these targets were validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative. And as you'll see on the right-hand side with the box highlighted in orange, one of our near-term targets requires us to engage with our suppliers to confirm whether they have existing science-based emission reduction targets or to agree to set science-based emission reduction targets. Now, for those who aren't aware of what science-based targets are, they are carbon emission reduction goals that are in line with the latest climate science. So that is to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, as required by the Paris Agreement. So achieving this supplier related target requires us firstly to identify suppliers that together account for 80% of our upstream emissions. So without going into the technical jargon of carbon accounting, there are 3 different emission scopes: Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3. And this supplier target, our upstream emissions, relates to the emissions associated with our Scope 3 purchase goods and services category. So we're currently using a spend-based approach, using purchase ledger data to estimate supply chain emissions. And that's helping us to identify the suppliers that make up roughly 80% of total emissions. So once we've identified those key suppliers that make up that sort of bulk of our purchase goods and services emissions profile, we then want to work with these suppliers to confirm whether they have existing science-based targets, or to confirm and to work with them to support in setting those science-based targets by December 2027. Now, in a moment, Sam's going to go on to some of the platforms and the tools that we use for our supplier engagement. And two of those systems allow suppliers to share this sort of science-based target information with us. We can record and monitor coverage of supplier science-based targets. But Sam will come on to that in a moment. So once we've confirmed with suppliers whether they have or will set a science-based target, it's then about the third step is to engage with suppliers to document demonstrable emissions reductions. So it's not just about target setting, but we also want to work with suppliers to collect, well, firstly to collect actual emissions data to replace current spend-based estimates, but also to understand what decarbonisation initiatives are in place in our supply chain, so that we can deliver emission reduction targets as well. So I'm now going to pass it back to Sam to introduce the Achilles, RSK supplier portal and the supply chain sustainability school in further detail. But as Sam mentioned, if you do have any questions around this part of the presentation, do drop your questions into the Q&A panel, and we'll get to those shortly after Sam's presentation. Thanks so much, Sam.
Great, thank you very much, Sara. So the first thing I wanted to talk about with you all today was this partnership that we have with the Supply Chain Sustainability School. So since 2023, we've been an active partner of the Supply Chain Sustainability School, and it's become a key cornerstone in our supplier engagement strategy and the training that we offer and that we use ourselves. So to support our own sustainable procurement processes as a business, we've undertaken over 2,000 hours of CPD accredited training via the school. We've accessed a lot of their online resources, and as part of people's inductions now, if you're working in a position where you communicate directly with suppliers and manage relationships or purchase any goods or services, the Supply Chain Sustainability School and their learning pathways and e-modules are now part of your kind of induction plan and key KPIs. But one of the great things about the school and our active partnership with them is that we can give access and their resource to our supply chain as well, to help with your own continued professional development and upskilling our supply chain in areas where maybe there is a slight knowledge gap, or if you're not sure where to access resource, and learning around things like carbon literacy, biodiversity, modern slavery, anti-bribery, and topics like that. Then the school has hundreds and thousands of different modules in place that you can access and utilize to increase your skills and knowledge in this area. The good thing about the school as well is that it is completely free for you to access, and it's not limited to a number of users either. So if you do have teams, you can assign learning modules to different teams, for example, or just to individuals who are working in these areas. I think one of the things that we found really beneficial in our partnership with the school is, as a business, doing the self-assessment. So the school will ask you a series of questions on different topics, and you essentially score yourself of where you are within your maturity in those areas. And then on the back of that, the school will kind of give you an action plan to follow that will help you improve in those areas, whether that's helping you improve your processes, helping you improve your knowledge, which can be then used moving forward in things like bids and tenders, to make sure that you're answering those questions around, for example, what you might do for from a social value perspective. Having that knowledge will help you then put the things in place to improve in that area, for example. So to help people get started each year as a procurement team alongside the sustainability team, we look at the different learning pathways in the school and the different resources, and we look at what the key areas of focus are for ourselves, and what the and that might be driven by new legislation coming through, and then we look at how we can engage with our supply chain as well. And so each year we allocate learning modules to our supply chain and ask for those to be completed. So those should have already been pre-assigned. So I'm hoping that if you're on this call, you may have seen them. So just to be able to access them, once you register on the initial link, that'll take you straight through to those learning modules to complete. But if you haven't got those, then please do reach out. They're not particularly onerous. It should only take you maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, but also then you get access to the rest of the resources that are in the school as well. So just to move on to Achilles. So Achilles is a third-party based supplier due diligence and evaluation platform who we've partnered with since, again, 2023. Again, I guess with Achilles, it's the first stage of our engagement with our supply chain and working together in a partnership, and it's a single centralized database which allows you to input your information and demonstrate to RSK the things that you've got in place, and also not just to RSK but our family of businesses as well. So Achilles is our kind of preferred method of supplier due diligence and evaluation. It's the first place that we'll be looking if, for example, there's certain products or services that we're not sure who could provide them, or we want to see who else is working, who we may already have existing within our supply chain that we can use for these services. So we can use Achilles to do that. Achilles also will generate an immediate kind of risk and an analytics, which you can see here on the screen, but also as a supplier registering with them, you can also see this information about yourself. So I'll just quickly talk through what you can see on screen here. So if you can see this sustainability score of 90, the green line, the inner line here, is what this example supplier has scored, and the grey line on the outside is what other suppliers on Achilles with a similar product and service selection and similar turnover bracket have scored as well. So you can use it as a tool to benchmark where you are from an environmental, social, governance and financial standpoint. Then if you click on the metrics behind that, it will break down strengths and weaknesses and opportunities for you as well, to help you really improve that score. So it's not just a thing that we get to see, it's something that you can use as well to continuously improve upon. We're not the only business that uses Achilles either, so they're very strong within the utility, construction and rail sector, and are used by companies like National Grid and Skanska, for example, who also use it as a kind of benchmark and baseline for pre-qualification. As RSK grow and we continue to acquire more businesses and grow ourselves, we need a scalable tool for supply chain management and just capturing information, and Achilles has really helped reduce the burden of sending out paper-based questionnaires to 17,000 suppliers each year, but it's also helped us really understand how diverse our supply chain is, and then linking that into the supply chain sustainability school, understanding where our supply chain are at on their sustainability journey, and so we can use some of the information shared via Achilles, such as if you've got science-based targets in place, or if you have modern slavery policies and statements, and use that information to help and support you and signpost you to resource within the school that may be of help and support you on your journey also. And then the final thing that I want to just touch on is our supplier portal. So when my slide moves across, there we go. So we launched the supplier portal last year, October last year, because we realized that maybe Achilles is a very robust way of managing our supply chain, whereas we do work with a lot of SMEs and sole traders as well, and so we did need to create the supplier portal, because there is a baseline of information that we do 100% require, and the supplier portal is the mechanism for this. So as you can see on screen, the information that is within the supplier portal is company reg, VAT number, if you're CIS registered, number of employees, turnover scale, minority or female-owned business, and again, importantly, do you have a science-based aligned emission reduction target, and who are the main points of contacts within your business for invoices, quotes, orders, and compliance. It's also the place in which we ask you to upload your insurances and things like that, and again, can be used by the business to identify what suppliers we've got that supply what products and what services, and if they work with other parts of the business, and things like that, so we can make sure that we're working with suppliers that are doing a good job for us in other areas as well, and really look to build upon that relationship, but also for you to kind of put in those products and services that you advertise. And if you are only working with one business, there may be other businesses that are also have a requirement for those products and services as well. But the portal is also, it's more than just a data collection point as well. It's where we're looking to use as like a communication channel as well. And so there's a few things such as policies and procedures that are within the supplier portal. So for example, our procurement policy, our global supply chain code of conduct, our ethics code, our human rights policy, and then regional, we have regional specifics codes of conduct as well, just because again, we're a global business, and certain things are relevant in certain geographies, but not others. But there's also an alert function within the portal as well. And so if you've registered on the portal already, you may have seen a few things recently that we've communicated via the portal. If you log in, there'll be an alert, and then that'll direct you to the alerts feature. So it's a way that we want to be able to keep you informed of the initiatives that we're working on, or any upcoming things that we need our supply chain to be aware of or take an action to. And it's via the portal that's the easiest way and most efficient way for us to communicate with suppliers, either via category or our supply chain as a whole as well, and communicate any of the changes or any of the upcoming legislative changes as well that may be happening. So I'll just coming to the end there, so covering the supply chain school, Achilles, and the supplier portal. I'd encourage you to look into the supply chain school in terms of a resource and an area in which you can help people within your business or yourself really growing your sustainable maturity, and access the resources that we've pre-assigned for our supply chain. And again, if you need access to that, then please send a question in the chat box, or just contact myself or Sara after this call. So we've got a few minutes left. We did say 10 minutes for questions, but we've only got 6 or so minutes. But yeah, my colleague Vaughey has been on, and she's been collecting questions that have been asked. So just over to yourself, Vaughey, if any questions have come through for myself or Sara.
Yeah, hi Sam. We have a few questions that came through. I'll start with the first one. My company is already on Achilles. Do I have to fill the supplier portal? So yeah, I believe this is for you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's it's a good question. So Achilles and the supplier portal are slightly different. In fact, if you are on Achilles, we can use some of that information from Achilles to pre-populate that data. However, we would still need you to sign up because we have the requirement that we need our supply chain to acknowledge and acknowledge receipt of our policies, which is what's hosted in the portal. And it's, as I say, it was also the place where we can send alerts. So we would need you to do both, but the requirement to populate information isn't necessarily the same.
Okay, thanks for your answer. We have another question, which is, I haven't been asked to join the supplier portal. Is there a link to join the portal?
Yes, absolutely. There is a link. We can send that out on an individual basis. All we need to know is who in your organisation will be the person responsible for registering, and then we can send a link to that person to set up the profile. And then from that point, there's not a limit to the amount of people that we can give user access to. We just need, in the first instance, the email or the person that will be responsible, and then from that point, we can add as many users as you may need.
Okay, thanks for that. And the next question is about sustainability score. Can multiple people do the supply chain score assessments?
Yes, so I guess there's two different types of assessment. So the first one would be the company assessment. So only one person, which would be your administrator, can do the company assessment. Maybe you want to work with a team to do it, but only one person can do that. But then there's the individual assessments. So each individual user, you can do your own personal assessments where you might want to understand what your knowledge gaps are. So you'd undertake the assessment and say how confident you are in particular topics, and then the supply chain score would give that person an individual action plan that can help them fill those knowledge gaps. But also in terms of, for example, the learning pathways that we've assigned, ideally we need one person to complete those learning pathways, but multiple people in your organization could complete those pathways if they wanted to.
Okay, thanks for that. Sara, this question is addressed to you. How is RSK tracking supplier science-based targets?
Thanks, Vaughey. Yeah, so briefly mentioned during the presentation that the supplier-based targets are tracked both in the supplier portal and via Achilles. So I think also on your screen, Sam, during your presentation, you had a screenshot from the portal, and that includes a field there that allows you to determine, tick or not, whether you've set a science-based target. So yes, we're able to track those through those platforms that Sam introduced you to earlier.
Thank you, Sara. We got another question. I believe this is for you as well. How do I share my carbon footprint data?
Sure, thank you, Vaughey. Yeah, so currently in terms of sharing actual emissions data, that is facilitated through the Achilles platform. So on the Achilles platform, there is sort of an area where you can enter Scope 1, Scope 2 and Scope 3 carbon footprint data. So if you upload it there, then obviously we can have access to that, as well as being able to determine whether you have set a science-based target or not. So yeah, currently through the Achilles platform.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for that, Sara. No more questions, I guess. So that was all.
Thank you very much, Vaughey. Yeah, the opportunity to ask questions. Our emails are on the screen now, so if you do have any further questions or want any confirmation on anything, just feel free to send an email, and we'd be really happy to talk to you. But we have hit the 2 o'clock mark, so yeah, I don't want to go over. So thank you very much for attending. It was great to see so many of you on the call today, and we look forward to speaking with you again in the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.